Harvey Phillip Spector was an American record producer, musician, songwriter, and convicted murderer. Spector developed the wall of sound, a music production formula he described as a Wagnerian approach to rock and roll. He is regarded as one of the most influential figures in pop music history and as the first auteur of the music industry for the unprecedented control he had over every phase of the recording process. After spending 3 decades in semi-retirement, in 2009, he was convicted for the 2003 murder of the actress Lana Clarkson and sentenced to 19 years to life in prison. Born in the Bronx, Spector began his career in 1958 as co-founder, guitarist, and vocalist of the Teddy Bears, penning their US #1 single, To Know Him Is to Love Him. In 1960, he co-founded Phillies Records, and at the age of 21, became the youngest ever US label owner to that point. Throughout the 1960s, he wrote, co-wrote, or produced records for acts such as the Ronettes, the Crystals, and Ike and Tina Turner. He typically collaborated with arranger Jack Nitzsche, engineer Larry Levine, and a de facto house band that later became known as the Wrecking Crew. Spector initially retired from the music industry in 1966. In 1969, Spector returned to his career and subsequently produced the Beatles' album Let It Be, 1970, as well as several solo records by the bands John Lennon and George Harrison. By the mid-1970s, Spector had produced 18 US top 10 singles for various artists, but following work with Leonard Cohen, Dion DiMucci, and the Ramones, he remained largely inactive and affected by personal struggles. His chart toppers included, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin', co-written and produced for the Righteous Brothers, 1964, The Long and Winding Road, produced for the Beatles, 1970, and My Sweet Lord, produced for Harrison, 1970. According to BMI, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin' is the song that received the most US airplay in the 20th century. Dubbed the first tycoon of teen, Spector's records helped engender the role of the studio as an instrument, the integration of pop art aesthetics into music, art pop, and the art rock genre. His multi-artist compilation album A Christmas Gift for You from Phillies Records, 1963, is widely considered to be the finest Christmas record of all time. Spector's honors include the 1973 Grammy Award for Album of the Year for co-producing Harrison's Concert for Bangladesh, 1971, a 1989 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and a 1997 induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In 2004, Rolling Stone magazine ranked Spector number 63 on their list of the greatest artists in history. In 2021, he died in prison at the age of 81. Accused of holding artists at gunpoint until they performed, mentally abusing his wife, and finally the murder of a film star, Clash looks into the unknown world of Phil Spector. Before telling you the 10 facts about him, let's have a brief look at his musical career. Spector's early musical influences included Latin music in general and Latin percussion in particular. This is perceptible in many if not all of Spector's recordings, from the percussion in many of his hit songs, shakers, güiros, gourds, and maracas in Be My Baby, and the son montuno in You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling, heard clearly in the song's bridge, played by session bassist Carol Kaye, while the same repeating refrain is played on harpsichord by Larry Knechtel. Spector's trademark during his recording career was the so-called wall of sound, a production technique yielding a dense, layered effect that reproduced well on AM radio and jukeboxes. To attain this signature sound, Spector gathered large groups of musicians, playing some instruments not generally used for ensemble playing, such as electric and acoustic guitars, playing orchestrated parts, often doubling and tripling many instruments playing in unison, for a fuller sound. Spector himself called his technique, a Wagnerian approach to rock and roll, little symphonies for the kids. While Spector directed the overall sound of his recordings, he took a relatively hands-off approach to work with the musicians themselves, usually a core group that became known as the Wrecking Crew, including session players such as Hal Blaine, Larry Knechtel, Steve Douglas, Carol Kaye, Roy Catton, Glenn Campbell, and Leon Russell, delegating arrangement duties to Jack Nitzsche and having Sonny Bono oversee the performances, viewing these two as his lieutenants. Spector frequently used songs from songwriters employed at the Brill Building, Trio Music, and at 1650 Broadway, Alden Music, such as the teams of Ellie Greenwich and Jeff Barry, Barry Mann, and Cynthia Weil, and Jerry Goffin and Carole King. He often worked with the songwriters, receiving co-credit and publishing royalties for compositions. Despite the trend towards multi-channel recording, Spector was vehemently opposed to stereo releases, saying that it took control of the record's sound away from the producer in favor of the listener. Spector was more concerned with the overall college of sound than with the recording fidelity or timbral quality. Sometimes a pair of strings or horns would be double-tracked multiple times to sound like an entire string or horn section. But in the final product, the background sometimes could not be distinguished as either horns or strings. Spector also greatly preferred singles to albums, describing LPs as 2 hits and 10 pieces of junk, reflecting both his commercial methods and those of many other producers at the time. Here are the top 10 facts about him. Number 1. Ahead of his much publicized appearance in 2008, Phil Spector had already clocked up some court hours. When he enrolled at UCLA, he worked as a part-time court stenographer transcribing recordings of speech. However, he later dropped out and moved back to New York to become a UN interpreter in French. Number 2. Ronnie Z-Man Barzell, an immoral record producer from Russ Meyer's Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, is said to have been based on an exaggeration of Spector. The producer's arrest and imprisonment after the body of Lana Clarkson was found in his mansion, also bodes eerie similarities to the film's plot. Number 3. A jealous and paranoid Spector is rumored to have insisted that his beautiful celebrity girlfriend, Veronica Bennett of the Ronettes, placed a dummy in the passenger seat of her car whenever she left the house without him, in order to deter her attracting any interest from other men. Number 4. Spector is rumored to have pulled guns on his artists. It is even claimed that he pulled a gun on Stevie Wonder, who was neither his artist nor physically able to see that Spector was brandishing the gun due to his blindness, arguably making this display rather unnecessary. Number 5. Sonny Bono, of Sonny and Cher fame, looked up to Phil Spector. In fact, he is said to have gone as far as having wanted to be the temperamental producer. The pair had gotten to know each other when Sonny had run countless errands for Spector at various sessions. Number 6. Phil Spector got into production at the tender age of 18. Thanks to the success of Gene Pitney's Every Breath I Take, Curtis Lee's Pretty Little Angel Eyes and the Paris Sisters, I Love How You Love Me, and many others, Spector was a millionaire by the age of 21. Number 7. Phil Spector came out of retirement in 1995 to produce an album by Celine Dion. The album, entitled Falling Into You, featured popular tracks Because You Loved Me and Falling Into You. However, Spector declared his disgust with Dion's management team and, consequentially, he later backed out of the project. Number 8. In March this year, while serving his prison sentence at California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility and State Prison in Corcoran, sources say Spector was beaten up. It is rumored that a fellow inmate attacked the producer for speaking out of line. His 29-year-old wife denies this attack took place. Number 9. When Spector was a young man, the eccentric producer claimed that he had been able to train himself so that he only needed to sleep for around 2 to 3 hours a night. The average amount of sleep that is recommended by experts as a healthy amount is around 7 to 8 hours. Number 10. No doubt a result of a combination of his contribution to the world of music and great production skills, and his rumored oddball behaviors, Spector was voted the 63rd greatest rock and roll artist of all time by Rolling Stone. That's it for today's video, and we will see you in the next one. Till then, make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.